School, where we teach black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Hope everybody is well. Hope that your finances are percolating, your health is bubbling, that you're in a good mental state. Black man and woman, new African, because you're going to need to be all three of those things, given what's coming down the pipeline. Not just in November, but January and afterwards. Everybody's focusing on November, obviously, because that's the election. But I think we're in our focus on November, we're forgetting about January. Because after the election is when the president will take office, is in January. And we need to have a plan, a strategy for what we're going to do from January forward, so that we're not, our organizing isn't just locked around the election, which is an every 4-year event. We have a daily life we have to deal with, and we have to have plans and strategies for how we're going to deal with that. I want to talk today, and this will be in the "What is that?" or "What does that mean?" playlist we have here. We're trying to teach people what different terms mean that have political value for us, particularly those of us who are nationalists and Pan-Africanists. Today we're talking about a word called defeatism. Defeatism. So that's spelled Defeatism. What is defeatism, and why can black people not afford to be defeatist? Defeatism basically describes the type of person or thought pattern that takes the position that I'm doomed to fail. We're never going to win. They expect to lose. They expect to fail. And not only do they expect to fail, but they're willing way too easily to accept failure, to accept their defeat. They're unwilling to fight when they need to. And because they're unwilling to fight, and because they believe that no matter what they do, they're going to lose anyway, a defeatist type person will make up or project all types of reasons as to why they won't vote. Oh, we're not going to vote because it's the white man's. Like, well, yeah, we live in the white man's country. If you're in the United States, we are an internalized colony of the United States. So yeah, I don't see you getting rid of your money in your pocket or your bank account, because I got the white man's pictures all over it. So throw your money away and burn that up, since you're in rebellion to the white man. See, this is where we see the contradiction, right? People not really, people try to pose like they're anti-white authority or white supremacy, but really they're defeatist, they're escapists, they're living in fear. So a defeatist might take the position of, hey, I'm not going to try to get in it to educate myself. I have an opportunity to go to school or go into this program or learn from an elder in the community that has said they want to teach me some things. And I say, oh no, I can't do that. That's not going to help me. And I'll never complete it. That's a defeatist position. One thing we know about being a defeatist is you'll always be right. If you have a defeatist position, you're always going to be right. Meaning, if you feel you can't do something, you won't do something. If you feel you won't complete something, you won't complete it. Your mind is the engine that makes this thing run in your life. Your mind. So how you think is everything. I don't care how muscular you are, how talented, how good looking, how much you know. If you think you're nothing, you will be nothing. You will accomplish nothing. This is why one of the key aims of white supremacy historically has been an anti-black propaganda campaign, to teach us, without going into a long lecture on it, to teach us that we are nothing, we have nothing, and we can do nothing. Now think about that. We are nothing. It means we have no value. Think of all the people walking around here, black, new African, Latino, that actually get up in the morning and actually believe that they have no worth, no value. They won't tell you I'm worthless. You'll never hear them say that, but you'll see it in their actions. Because what? People who feel they have worth and see themselves as valuable, there's certain behavior you're going to see out of them. They're going to do their best to take care of themselves. They don't necessarily got to go out here like they, some movie actor, but they're going to make sure they look okay. They're going to make sure, try to look at their health. They're going to try to get their money together. They're going to try to do things to better themselves. Because they're secure in themselves and they have positive thinking, they want to share that with others. So you're going to see these type of people positively engaging other people in their family, in their home, in their neighborhood. Hey, brother. Hey, peace. Sister, how you doing? You look nice. Hey, brother, I like them shoes. And they're going to mean it. It's not going to be no flattery or coddling, because flattery consists of insincere compliments to manipulate people or to make them like you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about true compliments. Telling people something nice that you believe to be true. People who value themselves are going to value their families, and they're going to value their ancestral line, their lineage, their people. And they're going to say, wow, I have to play my part in this generation which I live to push the people forward. And my part may be different from his or her part. My part may just be to write books, or my part might be to make films, or to coach kids, or what have you. What we can't do is have a defeatist attitude. So they told us we are nothing, have nothing, and be nothing. You are nothing, you're worthless. You have nothing, meaning that you have in your possession nothing of value. What does that mean? It means you have no skill set that's of any use to anyone. Nobody would want to hear what you have to say. Nobody would want to support your organization or join it. Nobody would want to maybe come to your church or your faith center, because you have nothing of value, right? And then, are nothing, have nothing, you can do nothing. This is the propaganda campaign that this country, the United States, has targeted to black people. You are nothing, you have nothing, you can do nothing. Now, if you can do nothing, think about that. That's the defeatist position they want you to adopt. And in actuality, the previous two statements lead naturally to the third statement. If you feel that you are nothing and you have nothing, then you won't do anything. Right? Okay, so I am absolutely saying is that people with no confidence will feel inferior. But I'm going a little deeper than confidence. I'm saying that if people feel that they can never win as individuals, as a collective, so now if black people feel, oh, we can't win, they're too powerful. They have too much money. They have too much information. They got specialized agencies that gather information. We don't have that. We were enslaved for 400 years, so we're behind. We'll never catch up. Some of us even try to put God. It's really sad when some of us even say, well, no, we're where we are because God put us there. That's crazy to me, that we would take this omniscient, omnipotent being and make them vindictive and scornful like that, like we tend to be, right? So some people think black people are behind because God made it that way. But if you think all those things, how are you ever going to move forward? And when you adopt a position, if you vote for somebody, if you buy this car versus that car, if you accept this job versus that one, you should always be asking in the forefront of your mind, will this decision put me ahead or set me back? If you're looking at it in an adversarial context, so it's you versus someone is trying to set you back, your question should always be, the way I think, My mentality, my ideology, my choices. Do these things help me to win in this battle against this enemy? Or do these things that I embody help my enemy to win? Very simple. And so when we talk about defeatism, which means an attitude that you are destined to lose and be defeated, and that when or if you lose or are defeated, you accept it because that's what you expected. You almost feel that your lot on this planet is to lose. And what I'm saying to black people in particular is that there's a whole I don't even want to say conspiracy, campaign to make us believe those things. Why? So that we would not fight back. Fortunately for us, as a historian, I'm proud, and a former social studies teacher and professor, I'm proud to say that despite all of the movies, the inferior, subservient roles we were forced to play, and the shucking and the jiving, despite prohibiting us from learning during the period of our enslavement in this country, we'll say 17th, 18th centuries, some of the 19th century, despite the different stereotypes. Black people are naturally hyperviolent. Black people are naturally hypersexual. Black people are sexually deviant. Black people are thieves. Black people can't be trusted. Black people lie and cheat. Right? And all those things. If you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. Like, what type of bullshit is that? But think about that, family. What that's saying. If you want to hide something from us, not from everybody, all of humanity, but from us, put it in a book. Despite little sayings like, if you're yellow, you're mellow. If you're brown, stick around. If you're white, you all right. But if you black, get back. Things that people were commonly saying and had some of us saying. Despite them getting us, some of us, to internalize ourselves, to become self-hating. And got us saying black jokes. You so black. I mean, what is that, fam? That's a self-hatred. And if you're self-hating, you're going to be defeatist by nature. One goes with the other. If you don't love yourself and value yourself, you're going to probably be defeatist. Only people that love themselves and see value in themselves and see themselves connected to something bigger than themselves are going to have the gumption to say, I wasn't put here to be anybody's slave. And yeah, they got the whips and the guns and the horses and all that, but we fighting back. And that's why I'm proud to say as a historian, that if you look in every era of history, there were always black people who fought back. And they fought back, however, in whatever way they could. We call it historically slave resistance if we're looking at the enslavement period. So what did these enslaved Africans do? They had no weapons, so to speak of. What did they do? They did things like took tools and take shovels and pickaxes and carts, and they broke them. The master, so-called master, might say, you have to pick X amount of cotton every day. That's your quota. And they might deliberately not pick that amount of cotton, or what we would call today as in a union, a work slowdown. Before that term was invented, that's what enslaved Africans were doing, to fight back. In very tragic circumstances, some enslaved Africans committed infanticide, which means they killed their own babies, their children, particularly if they were the product of rape or sexual assault from the slave master. This was their way, unfortunately, and tragically and desperately, of saying, I don't want this new human being of mine that I produced to come into this world and be contaminated with the sin and the disgrace and the shame and the exploitation and degradation of enslavement. I don't want them to go through that, right? Toni Morrison, may she rest in power and peace, wrote a a wonderful book called Beloved. I think Oprah Winfrey did a movie off of it, but that whole thing was based on a true story of a sister named Margaret Garner, an enslaved woman who killed her own children rather than have them grow up into slavery. So no matter what historical era we fought back, some enslaved Africans ran away to what was presumed to be free territories or states in the north of the United States. Some enslaved Africans ran away to the swamp, if they were by swamps, to desolate areas, and actually didn't seek any so-called free state. They made their own free territory. They took the things they knew from Africa, language, culture, dance, music, and different things, spirituality, and created their own independent societies. We call them Maroons, Palanques in the Brazilian context. So I'm proud to say that we have a historical legacy of not being defeatist. But all slaves didn't run away. All slaves didn't form maroon societies. And then, of course, there were slave revolts, which involved violence against the slave masters and their families. But most slaves did not do that, right? For every slave that ran away, you may have had 50 that stayed on that plantation that was scared to run away, or they felt, God put me in this position. I was born to be this way. And of course, when these white people would come and teach the Christianity or whatever religion they taught, which was predominantly Christianity, to the enslaved Africans, they taught it in a way that was racially skewed, inaccurate, and dishonest. They taught these enslaved Africans that they should obey their master, not Jesus and God in heaven, so to speak, but them. Right? They selectively took certain passages out that Bible and taught it as truth. Right? And so, or I say all this to say, although we can historically, logically break down why our people might be defeatists, why we might be escapists, why we seek pleasure so obsessively, we want to run away from our problems, we want to get high, we want to get drunk, we want to gamble, we want to indulge in all types of crazy sex, we're escaping. That's another form of defeatism. We understand why we do it, but the question is, should we be defeatist? Where does being defeatist get us? And I'm here to tell you, particularly in the context of what's going on in the United States right now as I speak. Right now, family, we have a presidential candidate who is a convicted felon many times over, who is a proven sexist and abuser of women. Proven, documented. Who we know tried to pay a woman to hush up on the stuff he did with her. Right? It's crazy. And who we know had his boy on his people's pay the money so the transaction can be traced to him, and then he lied about it. This is why he's convicted on so many felony counts. So this is a person who's a known liar, a known abuser of women who are precious, not just in God's sight, they're precious in my sight and our sight. Women are they who reproduce life. All of us owe our lives to women. Now, of course, men we had something to do with that process too. To my knowledge, my 2 children came about not just through their mother, but through me. But the mother carries them and nurtures them in the womb for 9 or however many months, and it forms that bond, and everything the mother eats goes through that umbilical cord to those babies. So it's a special relationship. He's anti-woman. Whatever your sexuality might be, he's against it if you're not what he thinks it should be. He's xenophobic, which means that he has a hatred, an irrational hatred, an unfounded hatred of what he feels are aliens or immigrants. And the irony of that is that everybody in this country, to some degree, immigrated to this country, right? This is a man who, as a sitting president, in an unprecedented, incited a kind of a riot or takeover of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And when people begged with him to say something, do something, he refused. In Charlotte, I believe, where there was a big rally, and this guy was in a car and he ran over some people, killed someone. He said, "Oh, some of those are fine people." This is the president that's trying to be president again. This is a person who's talking about building walls and that will electrocute people. Can we shoot people? I mean, I think he's really crazy, literally. And to be crazy is one thing. To be crazy and be the president of one of the most powerful countries on earth is a dangerous sort of position, right? Creates a dangerous scenario. And the Heritage Foundation with this Project 2025 add what they're doing, and then add Donald Trump, and you have the recipe for complete disaster. They're talking about taking away social services, the social safety net that this country provides through its what we call food assistance or food stamps, through Medicaid, through Head Start, and all these different things that the government provides through our taxes. They're talking about taking that away. They're talking about taking people off who receive food stamps. They may be disabled, they may be veterans, they may be too old to work. There's a number of things, you know. That's going to leave millions and millions of people, not just black people either, in a bad way, in a desperate way, in a way where they can't survive. They're talking about taking away provisions so that now the pharmaceutical companies can charge whatever they want for drugs. They're talking about taking away provisions, the disparate impact clause, right? So that if I say that I was discriminated against racially at my job, they say, Agyei, give us proof. And I may not be able to prove it empirically with empirical data, but the disparate impact clause says, but if I could show that a whole bunch of other black people have had the same problem in this place and other people have not, then I can successfully take my case to court and win a discrimination suit. They're talking about taking that away so that the law has no teeth. Women won't be able to say I'm the victim of sexual harassment or discrimination because of my gender. No one will be able to say I'm the victim of racial discrimination, right? So there's a lot of things that this Heritage Foundation is trying to do, hoping that Donald Trump, because he didn't create the Heritage Foundation and he didn't create Project 2025, they're an independent agency or institution that wrote this playbook, and they're trying, if Donald Trump becomes president, to give him their playbook, hoping that he will carry out their policies. They're like a public policy think tank. They come up with legislative ideas and they try to get our governmental systems to buy into them. And what they are in fact trying to do, I call it the Confederate plan. We don't need to make this overly intellectual. What they're trying to do is return the country to a place to a confederacy almost, where they imagine a place almost, if you will, if you follow me here, where the South would have won the Civil War. Imagine what the country would be like if the Confederates would have won the Civil War. Just imagine that for a minute. What it would be like for black people, for immigrants, for women, for poor people. I can keep going. This isn't just an issue of black people. So in that type of scenario, we have this election coming up. Joe Biden dropped out for whatever reason, because he's sick or frail or whatever, or he was forced to, for all we know. Kamala Harris was endorsed. She's now, the vice president is now running for president. A lot of women, black women in particular, a lot of people are excited about that because they feel like, well, she has a good chance to win. She has the background. She's a lawyer, district attorney, right? She's a senator or a congresswoman. She has the chops to pull this off. So a lot of people behind her. She's raised an exorbitant amount of money in very little time. She's broken actual fundraising records, right? That's how much people are behind her. She's having Zoom meetings with 50,000 people at one time in the Zoom. I mean, she's really making some real headway. And there's this election that's like 3 months, 4 months away. She doesn't have a whole lot of time to do a whole lot of convincing. And here we are, the so-called citizens, the people who will vote, and supposedly our vote will matter. Our vote will count. And so I know as black people in particular, we're faced with one hell of a dilemma. To vote for Donald Trump would almost mean that you are probably either on crystal meth, suffer from a severe mental illness, or any of the above. It would make no sense to do that. Based on his track record, his public statements that are a matter of record, his background with women, his being a felon, him being a traitor to his own country by inciting a riot and a sort of a takeover of the Capitol during his presidency. There would be no logical reason as a black person, as a poor person, as a woman, as an immigrant to vote for Donald Trump. That just is so illogical. I feel almost foolish to have to say it. It should be self-explanatory. So what do black people do? What do the citizens of this country do? Do you think that we should vote for Cornel West, the independents? Because those of us who are nationalists and Pan-Africanists like me, we take the position that we should have our own political party. We should be fighting for sovereignty and nationhood for black people. We should have our own things, military economy, all of that. And that we should have, wherever we are in the world, satellite sort of nation, so to speak, so that wherever we are, we have the protections of law and government for ourselves, that we cannot trust or depend on other people for these things. So what position do we take? I got people that's telling me, Agyei, that's the white man's country, the white man's Democrats, so I'm not voting at all. Well, that's a defeatist position. See how we tie this all together? This discussion of that's a defeatist position. If you telling me you're black, you're not gonna vote because it's the white man. Listen, unless you have plans to leave this country and live somewhere else, you're gonna be in this country anyway. Which means that how you are taxed, your children's ability to go to public school, your children's ability to afford college, your grandparents' ability to get the medication they need to afford it, and the medical care they need, is all predicated on who wins this election. That's a fact. There's no way around that. And whereas I'm not like Mr. Cheerleader for Kamala myself, Debbie, I'm not a cheerleader for her either. I'm definitely not a cheerleader for Donald Trump. I'm not a cheerleader for the Democratic or Republican Party or the United States the way it currently is manifested, the way it treats poor people, the most vulnerable citizens. I don't support that. But immediately speaking, the goal should be for all of these people to form a united front and say, we cannot allow this man to get in office. Because if he's allowed to get in office, what he did last time will pale in impact and significance to what he's going to do this time. And he has essentially said that. And if you go look up Project 2025, which Donald Trump, by the way, had nothing to do with, they're trying to get him to endorse these policies. Go look it up. Go read through. It's 900-something pages, but you can skim through it. They have people who have given summaries of it. These are things, they're confident. They have this all over the internet. It's free. You can read it. They're not hiding these. The Heritage Foundation is not hiding. They're telling you this is what we're going to do. These are our proposals to the president, if it's a Republican president, on how to manage this country. And one of the key things everyone watching this should know, one of the key provisions in this Project 2025 is to give the president, the executive branch, all the power, to take the power away from the Supreme Court and the Congress and give that power to the president. Okay. So Debbie says, you keep saying blacks should have this and that, and it's so dividing. Okay. I understand how you might feel. I'm going to empathize with you. If I were a white man, I might feel like, wow, this black guy with the bald head and glasses keeps saying what black people should do. He's not including white people. Well, keep in mind, the name of this channel is Harlem Liberation School. And if you read the description of our channel, it tells you we're a black nationalist Pan-Africanist channel. We are here, I am here for black people's interest. Although I feel that some of our positions, intelligent and progressive-minded, white people and all other people will sometimes agree with as well. But so, Debbie, just so you know, what I'm doing is keep it in line with our mission. Of course, I'm saying what black people should do. It's a black YouTube channel for black people, right? But notice what I'm not doing is saying we should hurt anybody white. I'm not saying we should enslave anybody white. I'm not saying we should take white people's ability to go to school away. We should take away white people's ability to afford medication. No, I'm not saying that. I'm telling you how black people need to be thinking as we need to advance ourselves in the world. That we cannot afford to be defeatist. We cannot afford it. Just like I can't afford to sit here for another hour and explain to Debbie or anybody else who's white, I can't educate them and tell them we're sorry we offended you. That's not what we're here to do. Our time, black people, John Henry Clark said we must practice the essential selfishness of survival. By that he just meant we have to know when we got to lock in, put the blinders on, refuse to listen to everybody else around us, and we got to take care of our business. Take care of our business. Because nobody else seems to give a damn about us, so we better give a damn about us. Everybody else is handling their own concerns. Everybody else forms all types of organizations and community initiatives and lobbying campaigns to fight for their interests. We should be taking notes of that. We should look around how other people move. We should say, you know what? I get it. I get it. Everybody's moving in their own best interest. We have to do the same because we are amongst this nation's most vulnerable people. So with that said, I hope that I defined the term defeatism. I hope I gave you reasons why we might be defeatists, and I hope I gave you reasons why we should not be defeatists. If we're defeatists, for example, if black people take the backwards reactionary position, illogical, irrational position, oh, this ain't our fight, that's the white people and their thing. So the way I'm going to prove my point, I'm not going to vote. And they're going around telling black people don't vote. That's a defeatist position. That almost guarantees you to lose. Right? I would probably say if you're voting for independents, if you're so-called Democrat, you're voting for all these different independents, I would say, though that's not a defeatist position, it's almost going to guarantee you to lose, because all that's going to wind up doing is splitting the Democratic vote. All those votes going to the independents, it could have gone to Kamala Harris, right? So you're splitting the vote. So I'm saying, I'm giving you a good practical display right in real time of defeatism. In real time, you hear black people who say they love black people talk about, oh, no, let's not vote at all. Huh? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. You're going to be, unless you're leaving this country, and sometime soon, the politics of this country, you can love it or hate it, will affect you. You know? Just so you know, people advocating for themselves is not being divisive. That's not being divisive. The people who are teaching white people that they're superior, who tend to be white, by the way, who are teaching that they're superior. The people who's trying to make life hell for poor people who or saying that black people are unintelligent or hypersexualized or violent, they're the ones creating division. In fact, the people that created race itself as a social construct were the ones that were divisive. The people came to this territory from Europe and decided they were going to colonize people and damn near exterminate and decimate the Native Americans, who were divisive we're responding to the divisiveness of white folk. And we need to be clear. Don't try to put this on us. I'm not going for that. Take responsibility. Not to say that you or anyone watching this is responsible, but you need to understand your history and what some of your ancestors created. Right? Some of the Ivy League colleges in this country and big insurance companies started out insuring slave ships. Yeah. So you need to know that history. Don't come to me with the divisive argument. Go to the white politicians, this government, the historians, all these people who conspired working together, as I said before, to make black people feel they are nothing, have nothing, can be nothing. So once you do that to a people for 400, 500 years, of course, those people are going to develop a politic. They're going to develop an ideology and a worldview. So this isn't about divisiveness. This is about how we fight divisiveness. And you have to make sure that you don't confuse them. Okay? So with that said, I want to thank you all for listening. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Have a beautiful day, and do not be defeatist. Black people, particularly. White people, if you're not rich and male, you might want to take this advice too. You should be doing everything you can within reason to make sure Donald Trump does not get elected. And that means you cannot be defeatist. Believe you can win. Believe we can keep him out. Believe we can make certain reforms in this country, certain concessions. With that said, thank you, family. Peace and Black Power. Have a blessed day.